Joining us now, Mark Leibovich, staff writer for The Atlantic, author of Thank You for Your Servitude, and an MS Now political contributor. Father Dave Dwyer is host of the Busted Halo show on Sirius XM. So, Father, maybe it's a doctor, maybe it's a joke. What are you hearing from folks in your circle right now?
My doctor does not dress like that.
He does not?
No, he does not.
Doesn't wear flowing robes?
Not usually flowing robes.
His palm doesn't emit
glowing
light?
palms.
Yeah.
Certainly, I hear a lot of people offended, people saying it's blasphemy. I'm glad that people are reacting negatively in a sense, but I'd also like to draw attention to a goofy image is probably going to come and go. I would hope we, as people of faith, would be just as concerned about things that are happening in the world that Pope Leo is speaking out against that are immoral and not just a goofy image.
Yeah, I think it's part of, the larger discussion, right, Mark? There's been a growing backlash to this image, which the president refuses to apologize for. MS Now did speak to some Trump voters about it. Here's what they told us.
Man, I'm 44 years old, bro. That's not a doctor. That's him depicting himself as Jesus Christ. That is blasphemy in its purest form.
Politics are one thing, but stepping into that area is a little bit different. A little bit stings for me a little bit.
I think he believes that he's the savior for the world. He's made a lot of good happen. So
that's a disgrace. I'm very upset about that. I mean, how egotistical can you possibly be? I'm ashamed that he would actually do that. A man I voted for and trust.
I wonder, Mark, is this the very definition of a self-inflicted wound? Where's the upside of that?
Oh, I don't know about the upside. I mean, there have been a lot of those self-inflicted wounds, on Truth Social and social media and so forth. I mean, I guess you just say full disclosure, I'm not Catholic, but I do think that I've never had a doctor that looks like that. I do want to point out, as Jon Stewart did last night, that the patient looks a lot like Jon Stewart. I don't know what that's about. I'd be curious to know, if this is the kind of thing that really moves the needle in sort of getting Trump voters away from him, the MAGA sort of hardcore base. There have been a lot of things. I'd be more curious to know what they thought of the gas prices at the gas station they were filling their cars with, which seems to be issue one in addition to everything else. But look, this has been, I guess as Vance said, people like him because he just sort of, he says what he's going to say. He lets it rip on social media. That's been kind of a catch-all answer for everything he does. It's offensive over the last year and a half and to some degree over the last decade. It seems to be wearing a little bit thin with a lot of different groups.
Yeah, and there is this history, right, of Trump challenging people to not believe what they see with their own eyes, from saying that January 6th was a day of love to claiming Renee Good, quote, viciously ran over an ICE officer. Maybe is that strategy catching up to him with so many of his supporters being Catholic, being evangelical Christians who actually know the definition of blasphemy?
Yeah, I don't think that this is a strategy at all. It seems like a president who is, I guess charitably, I would say, making it up as he goes along. The less charitable view is that he's somewhat unstable these days. But it does not seem like he's following any sort of rational script at all, certainly politically.
And Father, the Archbishop of Miami was among the archbishops and bishops telling their stories. He told NBC News, "We're in the forgiving business," adding that the Pope won't hold a grudge because he has bigger fish to fry. The Pope said he has no fear of the White House and that the Christian mission has been, quote, distorted by a desire for domination. Yeah. Boy, wow. Very few words, very big poke. But is Leo now essentially the moral counterweight to Trump on the world stage, whether that was his intention or not?
Yeah, he spoke very pointedly on Saturday at a prayer vigil for peace.
Yeah.
He used the word delusional omnipotence that some people have. He also, as you just pointed out, is very disturbed about people, whoever, using the Bible, using Christianity to rationalize things that we clearly teach are immoral. The Catechism says that when you talk about destroying entire civilizations, that's a sin against God and man, and it must be unequivocally denounced, which is what he did, of course. I think maybe the image, the blasphemous image, might be acting as a little bit of a distraction, and maybe Pope Leo is inviting us to kind of look back at okay, we looked over here for a minute. Let's look back at the war, the immigration issues, all of these things that the Catholics are really trying to bring to the fore.
I'm also fascinated by J.D. Vance. He's a Catholic convert, right? He said the Pope should stick to morality and stay out of public policy.
Right.
Interesting from an administration, I think, that has kind of coated itself in religiosity. But I don't know, does Vance fundamentally misunderstand the role of a pope?
And that's possible. And I think Pope Leo is continuing to express how he sees himself. He says, I'm not a politician. I'm not looking for votes. I'm the voice of the gospel. But I find in my experience, Chris, even when I'm preaching, that if somebody says you priests should stay out of politics or stay in your lane, almost 100% of the time, that's when it's not their politics.
Yeah.
And so somebody says, just stop talking about that. If it was something people agreed with, they'd be like, go Pope. Yeah.